Wow. What's happening, everybody? That's right. We back, baby. We back. We back. How y'all doing? How's everybody? I hope you guys are having an amazing, amazing day. Listen, this is your boy, Stanley Doucette, and I am live once again. Listen, this is Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. I have a actual show for us today that it is going to touch nerves. It's going to make people uncomfortable. It's going to probably turn some people off. But if I'm turning you off, that means you are part of the reason why things are going awry. That's right. I'm talking today. I'm not holding back. So if you are an individual that is trying to skirt by and do certain things that's not right, you're going to probably feel some of this today. So I cannot wait for guys. Listen, wherever you are, if you will go to let's talk with stanleydoucette.com, like, subscribe, share there, go to all of the social media channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Instagram, and of course our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube. We have a lot of fun. You guys will see some of the crazy faces that I make, but we have an absolute amazing amount of fun when we're doing our podcast with our guest that comes on, when I'm doing them by myself. So we have a lot of fun. But I want to get right into it. I don't think we're going to have a long show today. I have notes everywhere, but there's just bear with me. I just want to share some things with us today, right? And how this whole came about, the podcast today. I was actually showering. I was just thinking about, what is it that we can do and talk about. And there's so many crazy things that's going on in the world today, just all around the world. One of the things that's absolutely in America that's dominating the headlines is the the craziness that went on in Congress last week, and it was Marjorie Taylor Greene sharing something with Representative Jasmine Crockett, and it just became a clash. Marjorie Taylor Greene stepped out of bounds, out of order, out of line, out of whatever you want to call it, and this so happened she got met that day. She got met with a force, and everything went viral, and then it just continued to dominate the headlines here in America about what's going on in Congress. But that also got me to thinking, like what else can we do to continue to help empower, help elevate all of us, regardless of where you are in the world. And so I started to think about how did some of this things come about. And initially, I was just going to do it in general, but actually today I want to do it specifically for, I don't want to say specifically for, but I want to talk to everybody about, I'm sorry, my paper dropped, but I want to talk to everybody from an African American standpoint and some of the things that I think that went awry with overall, how it all got started, and then continue to push forward from there, right? So I'm actually titling this or subject line or whatever you want to call it, breaking the Lynch cycle. Yep, breaking the Lynch cycle. Where did Lynch come from? Well, back in the day, there was a slave owner by the name of Willie Lynch, um, from I think it was the West Indies. Had a little small group of slaves out in the West Indies. He had a plantation over there, and he actually sent a message to Virginia and the slave owners up there that created a master plan to keep black people enslaved, right? To just let's just think about that. To keep black people enslaved. And here's the thing: they did not go against to continue to have them enslaved physically, but also went to them mentally, and to literally keep them enslaved all the way around. And when I started to think about that, it literally just blew me away as I continued to think about this myself. And I wanted to share this with everybody because this was an atrocity that went on for years upon years and decades upon decades, right? I don't care what you say, slavery was wrong. I don't care what people say, it was wrong. You don't like it, so what? Turn the channel, get off, goodbye. but it was wrong. It was wrong. Now, the thing about it was you have to first understand it before you can actually deal with it, right? So one of a couple of things that Willie Lynch suggests that the slave owners do is create fear, distrust, and envy, right? Create fear. Now, how do you create fear? Well, one of the things that he did was he would take the sharpest, the most powerful physical statue of a male, a dominating force, and actually put him and beat him within an inch of his life. I mean, almost like he's dead. And then he may take them and put two horses, tie him up in two horses, set him on fire, and let the horses like literally pull him apart, right? And he would do it in a public square in front of everybody, so everybody can see that they're king, that they're the one that the slaves look up to, that he completely dominated that person. And the slave owners adopted that, and it created this fear amongst slaves. And then you went into the next part of distrust. So then not you, but he began to literally divide people. And I would just put them into three separate groups, right? So you had the lighter or fair skinned black people. They would work inside. They would serve the masters, if you will. They would serve the kids, and they would nurture the kids and do those things. And then you had, I'll say, the middle complected individuals. They would work closer to the house, right? Gardening and all of those things right around the house. And then you had the darker skinned individuals that would work in the field and, out in the field all day picking cottons and doing all of these different things. So when you look at it, it's already creating some level of distrust, because now one feels more superior than the other, and you have all of those things, and then now that creates the envy that's going on, because now the darker skin don't talk to the lighter skin, and then the middle skin don't talk to the lighter skin but think they're more superior than a darker skin. And actually, as we look at it today, that's something similar that's going on as we speak, every single day. That is literally something that goes on every single day. So I have a question for you, for all of our guests that's logging in. Are you a victim? Are you a witness? Or are you a perpetrator? Or are you all three? Only you can literally ask that question of yourself and be honest with yourself to figure out if you're a witness, a perpetrator, or a victim. Only you can answer that. So if you are, and you got to the point where they start talking about the brown paper bag test to get into some of the sororities. Hey, what does this look like? Or some of the fraternities, or some of the other things that are out there, and people are literally putting the brown paper bag up to see if people pass a certain color. Say that all started during this whole letter and what they're going to do to slavery in the early 1700s. So I want you guys to think about that. That happened in the early 1700s. All right, early 1700s. We're in 2024, and they're still within the black community. Some people say, "Oh, we're not black anymore. We're African American." Listen, y'all can play on words and all that stuff. Y'all know who I'm talking about. I really don't getting into the whole word thing, but let me just share with you guys. If we are still having those challenges about darker skin don't like lighter skin and don't like medium skin and this one and all of that other stuff, is frivolous. That means what he said back then is still continuously keeping the African American down all the time, right? Because the mindset, the mentality that was set in place is still working today. That curse that was cursed upon our, as you would say, ancestors or previous generations is still moving forward today, making it seems as if white America is more superior than black America. And that's not the case. When you look at the whole thing, what happened with Jasmine Clark and not Jasmine Clark, I'm sorry, Jasmine Crockett. And the next day she had to literally defend that she has an honorary degree, she has a Jewish doctorate, and on and on and on. But because she is a black female, whether it's a black female, a black individual, a female, or both, She had to defend that, even though she got the documentation. All of that stems going all the way back to then. Listen, I can hear people now saying, "Oh my God, like, why are we talking about this? If you don't like it, get off." I'm sorry, just get off, because you have to understand where these curses came from. In this particular curse, you have to understand it before we can get to even anything else. You know, my mentor always talk about a mindset, and we talk about a mindset and just different things in mindset, right? And that's to make our mindset strong. Well, this is part of it, right? I'm taking some of his stuff, but this is part of it. And when I say this is part of it, because a lot of times we don't want to talk about the things that are uncomfortable. We only want to talk about the things that are comfortable. Well, in order to grow, you're going to have to go through some uncomfortable stages. One, I could tell you, you know, I had surgery a few years ago, and went through all of those things. And it took me some time to get back to where I can start exercising and running and all of those things. Let me just share with you guys. Initially, when I started running again, I was breathing like, whoo, it was like a freight train coming before I was able to start getting a little bit more and more comfortable. I did not want to start running because I knew the pain or the stress and all those things that was going to happen when you're running. But now I'm a lot better. Well, today we're going to dig right in the face of this curse that was placed back in early 1700s. And we're going to get through it, and we're going to be better for it. But for those that are complaining, just get off the radio. Just leave first, because if you don't even know what's going on, it's hard to defeat it, right? So we have to first educate ourselves. So now you see that all of the things that was happened then, and then the slave owners began to enact that and do those things, and then have the public display of burning and taking, you know, some of the young ladies and raping them. Some are then having them raise their families and teaching their children and all of these other crazy things that was going on. Then they would have public burnings. That's why a lot of people don't say barbecue anymore or picnic anymore. You know, it wasn't picnic, it was pick a nigga. And that's what it was. And you know, a lot of people are like, ooh, that makes you trend. Okay, well, that's what it is. So we have to understand where some of these things are coming from so we can get better at that situation. Okay. So now, as we began to understand the dreads and the curse that was placed then, now we can start moving forward on how to actually break the Lynch curse. How can we actually break the Lynch curse? So, one thing, you can write this down, is actually recognize. First of all, you have to recognize. That's why I wanted to take the time at the top to share what the actual Lynch syndrome, if you will, or the Lynch curse, as I call it, what it is. So now that we know, now we can recognize, okay, this is what's going on. Why am I treating this individual this way? Why am I treating this business this way? And now we can begin to understand. A lot of things go on in business, with companies that are owned by African Americans or owned by blacks. A lot of times, you know, I would hear this story, and they would talk about, you know, when you have two bags of ice, both bags of ice all saying the same weight, it's 5 pound bags of ice. Both of them are 5 pound bags of ice. But a lot of times, now I'm gonna be very blunt with this. Blacks, African Americans, we would go to the white male store or the white female store or the Asian store or the Hispanic store, purchase their ice before we go to the young man or the young lady that's a black male or a black female that owns their own store and get their ice. We're not going to go get their ice. That's the last resort, right? So we're going to go get everybody else's ice before we get our ice. That has to change. I'm gonna be blunt. That has to change. To all of my white friends, my Asian friends, my Hispanic friends, this is nothing to do with you in terms of I'm trying to come down on you. But I have to educate my family and friends, relatives, associates to make sure we understand and we're rocking in the same direction, right? So now, when I don't know why something just popped in my head, but so now you have that scenario. You understand now, you can recognize if I'm a witness, a perpetrator, or a victim, right? because some of us are some horrible perpetrators. Some of us just witness and watch the stuff and don't even try to change it. And some of us are just victims of it. You own a store with the ice, you become a victim because everybody's going across the street to get their ice and don't want to come and get your ice. Yep. Yep. We're going to talk about it today. I know it's uncomfortable. It's okay. It's uncomfortable, but we got to deal with it, and we're going to deal with it because I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired. It's a little spiritual, but I'm sick and tired of all of the evil ones winning and nobody wants to deal with it. Well, today I'm dealing with it. We not gonna have that curse. We're gonna reverse that curse and we're gonna continue to build and be great about it. But we first have to recognize it and believe that there is a curse. Some of us didn't even know what was going on. I asked a couple of friends, did they know anything about the Willie Lynch letters or anything? And don't get me wrong, it's not like I had all of this knowledge, right? But I was eventually educated on it. Let me just say this. A lot of the government and Congress and these evil people that's in office and taking books and classes out and talk about all kind of these, what's the big one is DEI, um, diversion, equity, and inclusion. They're taking that out. Affirmative action. They're taking all of this stuff out. They're getting rid of abortion. Now, I'm not trying to get in the political side, but what I'm sharing is this: they're taking all of these things out to miseducate you or don't give you all of the facts so you can actually begin to recognize some of the curses that's going on by the evil one. So now that you're recognizing it and bringing it to the forefront of your mind and realize what's going on, now you can recognize it. Okay. Now that you recognize it, the next thing we got to do is repent for anything that I have done in solidifying the curse. I mean, you got to keep it a buck with your own self first. If you say you've never been the perpetrator, let me just tell you, you're a lie. You have to first recognize it first. Then you have to repent for the times that you have done it unconsciously, right? So now we're bringing it to the conscious mind so we can redevelop the unconscious mind so we don't do that to one another anymore. Okay? So first we got to recognize it. Then two, we got to repent from it, right? After we repent from it, then we have to renounce it. Say, I'm not going to do that ever again. I'm not doing that ever again. Why are we renouncing it? Because you can say certain things and repent, but sometimes you don't renounce it and you go right back to doing it again. No, we are literally renouncing. We're not going to treat black people bad just because they have a darker skin or a lighter skin. We're not going to be envious of each other. We're not doing that. So now we go into that next phase, right? The next phase is how we also deal with it in business. And I'm going to keep going through it, but how do we deal with it in business? And I'm going to share something with you guys in a second. As a matter of fact, let me share it. I'm going to share it in a little bit. So remember, recognize, repent. Now the next thing is renounce. After we renounce, then we release it. Not going to do it anymore and just release it out of your body. Just literally release it. Some people may say, let me pray and release it. However you do it, just release it out of your body. I know it's uncomfortable. I'm normally hype and we have a lot of fun, but I have to dig and destroy this curse that's been going on for years upon years upon years, decades upon decades, and we're not going to do this any longer. If you are a white individual, a Hispanic, a Jewish, an Asian, and so on, and you are a perpetrator, witness, or a victim, you have to do these same things to break this curse. That way, we can have a more harmonized society than where we are today. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to release it. Then the next thing, let's replace it. We're going to replace it with some positive things, some positive. Black people are not my enemy. Let's start there. Black people are not my enemy. A young black male is not my enemy. This is something that popped into my mind. I'm a former police officer, as I like to say in my former life, right? So being a young police officer in my former life, let me just share something with you guys. I've had the fortune enough to be both on the side of the law where they're pulling me over, flashing lights and all of that stuff. And then I've also been the person behind the car with the flashing lights. Okay. So whatever, let me be clear. I want everybody to understand this because this is powerful. When you are driving as a black male, black female, but especially a black male, young black male, you're going to have that quote unquote that talk, right? Your parents will sit down with you and have that talk about, listen, when the police officer pull you over, do not get disrespectful. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Make sure you don't do any sudden moves. Make sure you turn all of the lights on inside the car if you can. Roll all of the windows down so they can see inside of the car. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. I can go on and on and on. And a lot of people are nodding their head like, yeah, that's true. Because as a black male, even though I wore the uniform for a long period of time, there's no type of understanding why the fear hits you when you see flashing lights. I'm not talking about if you ride dirty. I'm talking about you ride down the street and they got the lights on. You don't even know why you're being pulled over. But it's something about when you grip that steering wheel that it's a fear that comes into you. Why? Because there's so many different things that can happen. Even though I've been on the other side in the uniform, but there's so many things that can happen. And I don't care if a lot of times people say, that doesn't make sense. Until you a black male in this society right now and you being pulled over in a country town and you don't know if that particular officer is racist, demonically possessed or anything, trust me, you're not going to do no quick movements. You're not going to have no smart returns, no smart remarks or nothing. What you're going to do is do exactly what your mom, your dad, your uncle, your aunt, or whoever shared the talk with you, you're going to do just that. So remember, there's something about that fear. Where does that fear actually come from? It come all the way back from the Willie Lynch letter because the curse jumped from generation to generation to generation to generation. Somebody got to break the curse. Well, today we breaking the curse. We're not having that anymore. So we have to break the curse, not of just black people, but also our white family and friends, our Hispanic family and friends, our Asians, and so on, our Jewish community. We have to break that. We can no longer operate in fear in America. And let me just say this to all of my non-blacks that's listening. Just because President Obama became president for 8 years, and I mean, 4 years, and then won re-election and became president, a two-term president, and was probably one of the most successful presidents in record in recent time. Just because he became president, that does not mean like everything else is over now. Oh, y'all have no excuses. It's not an excuse. We're just telling the truth. It's a lot different than when you put on an application. What does this matter if you black or white on the application? Help me understand that. Just help me understand that. You filling out an application and say, "Are you black or white?" What does that matter? I'm applying for a job. I have just as much credentials as somebody else. So help me understand why you need to know if I'm black or white. I understand some applications on a medical application, they may say something like, "We need that because African American bodies may be different than whites." I'm not quite sure if I believe that, but let's just go with that. Let's just say that's to be true. Let's just say that to be true. But why you need to do it when I'm applying for a job at X company? For what? That's so you can see. Do you know how many times and I'm thinking about it? You know how many times people have shared with me personally that they got passed over for a job that they had way more credentials and they gave it to somebody that they were their subordinate. Next thing you know, that person now is their supervisor, their direct supervisor. They don't know what they're doing when they keep asking that particular person to do all of this stuff so they can keep their job and look good and then treat them like doo doo brown. Yeah, all of that goes on in corporate America. All of that goes on in a lot of places. So we have to be aware of where that curse came from. You cannot be a perpetrator any longer and carry that curse. Black, white, Asian, Hispanics, Indians, I don't care. You cannot carry that curse any longer. And today we're breaking it. We're absolutely breaking it. So now, if you look at it from a business standpoint, this is powerful, guys. This is absolutely powerful. This is powerful. Let me give you the last ones I want to share with you as powerful. So we released it, then we replaced it with good things, and then we replace it with some beautiful, powerful things, and then we resist it. If it ever comes back, we resist it and throw it back. So those are the things to help us break the curse of the Lynch cycle, right? Or the Lynch curse, as I like to call it. So it's recognize, repent, renounce, release, replace, and resist. That's how we're going to break that cycle. That's how we're going to break that curse. Now, let's get into something because I want to open everybody's eyes to this. And we're almost finished and get on out of here. We talk about business. And we talked about the ice and those things. I want you guys to think about this. A lot of times we try to figure out how to create wealth in the Black community. And a lot of times they talk about going buy a house or go get a house or something, of that nature. But I'm just use a house. Sometimes it's difficult, once again, because you putting on your application, are you Black or white or other, right? Right. And then they're trying to get slick with it and they put on that optional. Oh, why? Why even put it on there? It doesn't hold any weight. But anyway, I digress. So now you want to purchase a house, right? But when you go in there to purchase a house, a lot of things just you go into the bank and it's like you got to go through a whole bunch of hoops more than what some of our counterparts would do. Unfortunately, it's just the truth, but that goes back to the curse. But look at this from a business standpoint. In the Asian community, their dollar cycles at least 28 days before it leaves the Asian community. Let me say that again. In the Asian community, their dollar cycles at least 28 days before it leaves the Asian community. Bravo, bravo, bravo. You're going to help that other person. Bravo. In the Jewish community, it cycles 19 days before it leaves the Jewish community. Bravo, bravo. In the white community, it circles 17 days. Okay, good. Very, very good. But now look at this. In Latino community, it cycles 48 hours or 2 days. It cycles in the Latino community. Okay, got to work on that. Got to work on that. But in the Black community, hold on and listen to this. It only cycles 6 hours, not even a whole day. It only cycles 6 hours before it has left and went somewhere else. Soon as you cash the check, people are going and spending it with somebody else. They don't even use the money to stay in their own community, right? We don't even use that money to stay in their own community. So if you think about it, Asians is 28 days, Jewish is 19 days, whites are 17 days, Latinos are 2 days, Blacks, we don't even have a day. We are 6 hours and we're throwing our money to another person or another ethnicity or what have you, right? That's where that's going. That's facts. Look it up, go play with it, go do what you want to do. But now let me give you this other part. African Americans, Blacks. In America, we have $1.6 trillion in economic spending power. $1.6 trillion in economic spending power. Now, if you put that together, we'll probably be like the 10th, somewhere between the 10th and 15th most powerful country or wealthiest country in the world if we just was a actual country. So I want you to think about that. Why all of the other communities cater their commercials and different things to the Black community? Because the Black community will not keep their dollars within the Black community. What we will do as African Americans, as Blacks, we will literally get the check and go spend it on something else where somebody else will stay wealthy, right? So that means instead of getting the ice from here, where the same ice, we're going to go spend it over there with the X community, and now they're going to keep their dollar 28 days or 19 days or 17 days or 2 days in their community while we don't even have a day to keep ours. Y'all understand that? So now how do you get that $1.6 trillion of monies coming back? It's simple. You cater the commercials and the titles and the marketing and all of that to the African Americans who sets trends, who began to create different different things, from like the rap game, and start talking about baggy pants. So you can go in and out of how, but you start doing different things and how they created this culture. Now you put all your commercials and all that depending on what the black community is going to do. And now within 6 hours, that $1.6 trillion of power has gone to somebody else, which leaves us back into poverty. Yeah, that's a horrible way of thinking about it, but let's just give the truth about it. This is what it is. So, what are the things that and why? It goes back to that letter. It goes back to the Willie Lynch letter completely contained us physically as well as mentally. Once you break out of that cycle, that curse, and you begin to see things differently, you begin to get attacked even by your own family and friends because they haven't broken out of that curse yet. You've heard of the crab barrel mentality. Yeah, it's all come from there. There are people talk, I heard when it was talking about freeing slaves, right? And I remember, I can't remember who, but they said we would have freed a lot more slaves if people would have known that there were even slaves. If you don't know that you're a slave, then that becomes a problem. You can't even be free. Even if you are free physically, you still have a slave mentality. You still have certain things you do as a slave. So ask yourself, are you a victim, a witness, or a perpetrator to all of this that have been going on? You got to break that cycle. If you think about one of the most powerful things and why Dr. Martin Luther King was so powerful in his message is because that community, right, in that time, they started to buy in. And when they started to buy in and break that cycle, break that curse, they started moving the needle. See, when you started talking about shutting down a whole bus line, right, and having that conversation, initially they thought it was going to be this, but now you started creating jobs. You started creating economic power coming back because now they're not doing anything to the bus. They're not getting on the bus. They're not using public transportation. What they're doing now is individuals that have vehicles, they're getting in the vehicles, they created a schedule. People became entrepreneurs. They began doing things and they started keeping that focus where and what they were doing in one focus, one vein, going in one direction. And what happened is it started to put the pressure on everything else. And they had to figure out how to get to that $1.6 trillion because if not, it was beginning to cripple their economy. So then start creating laws, which is now in today, oh, I can't do this anymore publicly, but I want to do everything I can to cripple you, stay in that same thought, stay in that same curse to help you stay in that curse so they can still get hands on the $1.6 trillion of economic spending power, have you controlled, all of those things. And once now that you're controlled, now that you're controlled, what happens? You begin doing what the master wants you to do. Some people get a little bit more in it, but yet at the same time, you're on a job, somebody's the vice president, but they're treating this black person horribly, even though they're black. Why? Because they're trying to stay in the game. They're trying to stay there. They're trying to be the one. They're stepping on people and all those other things. That all goes back. But today we breaking that. We're not doing that any longer. We're not going to do that. As a matter of fact, my suggestion is to look at yourself in the mirror and ask, are you a victim? Are you a witness? Are you a perpetrator? What do I need to do to break the Lynch cycle? Well, recognize and repent, renounce, release, replace, and resist it. That's what you do. Now that you've done that, now let's put some things going forward in some of the people that we're going to converse with. What are we going to do to make this even better? How are we going to push this forward? Well, you're going to begin to at least talk to some individuals that are black, that have their own business. As you have your own business, then you're going to begin to patronize their business. If somebody have the ice and all things are equal, now I understand, I'm not saying You can get a 5-pound bag of ice for 99 cents over here, and somebody selling a 2-pound bag for $40. Yeah, we're gonna go with the same ice. We're gonna go with that bag of ice that's 99 cents, right? But everything being equal, you're gonna patronize that black business to help support them. They have a dream, a vision, and a goal as well. So why not help support them? I'm talking to everybody that's listening, wherever you are on the in the world, and all of the 170 plus countries we are in. I'm talking specifically to you. Patronize that business. What's the difference? Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's a mindset. So we're going to patronize those black businesses that are out there. You know, we have a company that we are a part of. In for a lot of people know I don't talk about One Voice on my podcast, but I'm fortunate enough to serve as the president of One Voice Worldwide, and it is an absolute honor. Here's what I want to share with you guys about One Voice. One Voice is black owned, but we don't do black business. And here's what I mean by that. Mean we don't do stuff out of order. We don't do stuff late. We don't just do stuff to do stuff and all out of whack looking crazy. No, it's polished, it's tight, it's together. We do all of those things. And a couple things that we talk about is empowering people. We sharing an opportunity with people. We want to help people be elevated, because if you're empowered like this podcast, if you didn't even know you were in a curse of something that happened in the early 1700s, well, it's something that we want to help empower you to understand. That's your foundation. That's your baseline. You're being poured in by successful individuals, right? And being poured in from the One Voice family. Now you think about it, somebody's empowering you to be successful, not empowering you to pull you down, but empowering you so you can be successful at where you want to go. Those are the things, helping you get that hope and all of those things. So now you have the hope. Now you're empowered. Now then you talk about having an opportunity. You have an opportunity to grow. You have an opportunity to start your own business. You have an opportunity to be around successful individuals that are doing some incredible things in business and outside of business, right? You're talking about people that have, whether you're talking about relationships or whether you're talking about just straight money and how I'm going to make some money to help give me options. Well, that we have an opportunity that we offer and share with people, that you literally at the cusp of something powerful. As a matter of fact, we're going to be announcing something that's going to be off the chain in a little bit. And then the last piece is this. On the last piece, you have elevation. When you talk about elevation, you're talking about doing some stuff that is beyond not just the physical stuff of hotels, motels, and all that stuff, but you're also talking about being in a position to empower your mind, to elevate your mind to a higher level. That's where we are, and that's what we're doing. So we got a conference coming up July 19th through the 21st, 2024, is going to be in Orlando, Florida. Go to events.onevoiceww.com. It's all right there. Register. Come check us out. Come hang out with us. Come be a part and come do what you have to do with us. And I promise you, you will not be disappointed. All right. So listen, guys, we're going to close out this podcast. I love you guys. Thank y'all for staying with me on this one. I know this one was a little bit hot, a little bit rough, but thank you guys for staying with me on this one. So with that being said, I love you guys. Go to all of our social media channels, like, subscribe, share, comment, and donate. Thank you guys so very much. I love each and every one of you. God bless. And this is going to conclude our webinar. I'm saying webinar podcast. And I'll see you guys on the beaches of the world. God bless. I'll talk to y'all soon. Good night. Good morning. Good evening. See you later. Peace.